Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. Happy Friday everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. Back at it live, and we are here on February 6th, 2026, the very first Friday of February. So those of you guys who are level 4 members, hit your girl up. Let me know if you guys want to cash in on your reading for the month. And for everybody else who's new here, welcome. My name is Candace Marie. I'm a Western astrologer and a tarot reader. We're here every Friday night at 4 o'clock p.m. Central and actually 6 Central. That's 4 p.m. on the Pacific Coast, 7 p.m. Eastern. And we're doing live readings on the channel. So if you guys want to get a reading, scan the QR code right up there, and that's going to take you to the PayPal. We're doing one card reading for $20 donation, or you guys can get a 3-card spread for $40 and ask any one question that you guys would like. While you're here, please do give me a thumbs up. Let other people know that we are live on YouTube. And make sure you click that bell button below and subscribe to the channel. That way you can see more of my videos. I like to incorporate tarot and astrology to my predictions. And join memberships while you're here. Level 4 memberships are always going to get one reading once a month. You can choose if you want tarot or astrology. And obviously this week's tarot, but next week's astrology. So all the big solar eclipse readings that we're going to be doing next Friday for the incoming solar eclipse in Aquarius. And because it's the top of the month, I do have to say thank you to all of the people who have joined my memberships. If you guys haven't seen them, check it out. I'm a full-time content creator. I'm putting out 4 videos a week, long-form content and also educational content for you guys. And I hope you guys like the horoscopes and the astro weather on Sundays and all the new and the full moon reports and much more. So if you guys want to get in there and support me, you can see all the different levels, but you're going to get a shout out, you're going to get a part of my daily horoscope club, and you're going to get a reading once a month if you join at level 4. And level 4 members we take first. So I know we've got a lot of people who are in the chat. Me say hello to everybody. So what's up, Spoken for Eternity? What's up, Vicky? I saw your little comment there about your husband. I hope he's good. Who else do we have here? Helene, am I saying that right? Muriel's here. Ellen, what's up? Amanda, what's up? TWC Myers, what's up? Michaela, Emmy's here. Dana's here. How's it going, guys? Happy Friday. So I got to do my roll call and say thank you to all of my level 2 and up people who are members. You guys are getting your shout outs for the beginning of the month. Just to say thank you so much for supporting my work. So we've got Vicky who's here, who's actually in the chat. She just joined. We've got Ariel. We've got Puppies, Arcea, Darlene, Numi. We've got Junie Bones, Be Well With Tea, Contessa of the Divine. Amanda's here. We've got Katie, Diana Diamond, Luna, Amanda, Love Night. We've got Script Shaman. Who else do we have? Heritem, Haley, Donald Seals, Neo Americana. We've got Vic WK, Taylor Small, Enchanted Crossroads, Miss Self-Destruct, Patty, Rosie, Justine, Mia, Sharon Grant, Alicia, Deanna. We've got Nancy, Melissa, always Lauren, Janie Doe, B. Levy, Ashley Johnson, Sharon, we've got Claire, we've got Phoenix Moon, and Grow Up Together, Miss Taliba, and Susan Wexler. Some of you guys have been members for like years since I started, so thank you so much for supporting my work. I appreciate you so very much. And we're going to get on with the readings. So basically, I've already got a number of people who are in the queue. Of my level 4 people, does anybody want to check in and get a reading? What did Vicky say? Candace gave me the most incredible chart reading this week. Well, thanks, Vicky. What's up, Deanna? What's up, Puppies? What's up, Corey? All right, so if there's any level 4 people, shout out at me. Let me know if you want me to get you in here. Otherwise, I've got Jenna, Amanda, Spoken for Eternity, Ellen, Brenna, and Muriel so far who are on my list. And I'm keeping a close eye on PayPal because, PayPal, it has a tendency to have a bit of a delay. So forgive me, hopefully. Fingers crossed, no whammies tonight. So if you guys want to get in the queue, if you did not already hear your name, you can get in there. You'll hear me calling names out just to let you know whose readings are kind of coming up. And Vicky says, I'm new. Do level 4 people pay the 20 or 40? No. So if you want to get a reading, you can get a reading now, or you can wait for another reading. Next week is going to be astrology. We'll do another tarot. I think February is a short month, but usually we have at least 2 Fridays where it's tarot, 2 Fridays where it's astrology. So if you want to get in there, let me know. I'm happy to answer your question, Vicky. Thank you for becoming a member. And we're going to start with Jenna, and then we have Amanda, and then Spoken for Eternity, unless I hear from some of these level 4 people. Generally, when it's eclipse month, people have a tendency to wait until they can get the eclipse readings. But you guys are free to get a tarot reading if you want. Let's see. So I didn't hear my name. Let me go find you, Omar. Oh no, I see you. Actually, you sent it yesterday. I did not see you. So you're first on my list. It'll be Omar and then Jenna. Let me add you here. Just want to make sure you're in the queue. I got you. Don't worry. All right, so I'm going to start with Omar, and then we'll take Jenna and Amanda. So let's see what we can tell Omar this evening. So Omar says, hey Candace, these next few months are bringing big challenges collectively and individually. I want to know what advice or insight my guides can provide in navigating life through these transitions as a Libra rising, Sagittarius sun, and a Taurus moon. Thank you as always. No worries, puppies. You guys just shout me out. Let me know. We'll keep an eye on the chat. All right, Omar. So what can we tell you about these changes that are coming collectively and individually? What insight can we give him from his guides about this as a Libra rising, Sag, Sun, Taurus, Moon? We have got the 8 of Wands, we've got the Temperance card, and we've got the 6 of Wands. Pretty great cards, actually. It's interesting because, you know, the Wands are always going to connect and correlate with the fire energies, right? So I'm assuming what you're talking about is just knowing that you've got outer planets that are moving into the opposite sign of your ascendant, which is what you should be listening to first. But I think for like a Sag sun, I mean, I think you guys are really going to like this period. Looking at the spread, starting with the 8 of Wands and ending with the 6 of Wands, it's talking about a lot of action, things that feel very charged, a lot of forward momentum, and these are positive cards. So the 8 of Wands kicks off the reading, which is basically saying full steam ahead. 8s are always about transformation. So it can also represent that there is a merger, right? That there can be some positive, either emotional, financial, psychological, and also like intimacy related changes that can be taking place. So rather than going into the transit being fearful, I would say go into these transits being enthusiastic, because it's kind of like pulling all of the arrows back, and where there has been some like trepidation or some concern or some fear about what direction you're going in. Now we're getting ready to kind of like focus our aim and figure out, you know, where we're going to kind of have liftoff, right? And obviously in 2025, like Saturn and Neptune were already in Aries. So as a Libra rising, there is this sense of, do I want relationships? Do I not? And Saturn was trying to get you to kind of fulfill some of the karmic obligations when it comes to relationships. Neptune was also showing you where there could have been some kind of questioning partnerships or business partnerships or just how you connect with other people. And then it retrograded back into Pisces. So a lot of Libra risings were like, before I go into relationships, let me get my schedule under control. Let me get work under control. Let's figure out health. Let's do all that stuff. And I think really what it's saying is that you have been focusing on kind of stabilizing everything before you move forward in some of these new ventures. Now, as a Sag, it's going into, you know, a part of the chart that is going to be friendly for you. It's another fire sign. So at some point over the next couple of years, you'll see some trines to your sun, which is really good for goals. It's also going to be good for connecting with community. It's also really big, I think, for establishing new friendships and like communication and how you communicate and how you connect with people. So I think with the Temperance card coming up in the right now, it's basically saying like patience, timing, healing. I love the Temperance card because it talks about all of the appropriate things kind of coming into the mix and everything kind of aligning, because it's this alchemical process where you're having to wait for certain things that are going to be kind of lining up. I would say that it's also interesting that the Temperance card does have connections and correlations in some ways to Sagittarius. And so it can be kind of talking about what you learn through the process of waiting, what you learn through the process of healing, and also, you know, connecting with certain people can be very therapeutic for you, and it can be like very, very, very spiritually kind of shifting. I think that I would be keeping an eye on when we're going into Sagittarius season. I would also be kind of keeping an eye on the immediate, like, next 8 weeks. Because the Eight of Wands represents the next 2 months and just the quick moving nature and the action of just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, which is also part of this. As you're seeing Saturn and Neptune going into your opposite sign of your ascendant, it can mean that you're being asked to now step into new relationships, but it could be new services, new business relationships. You could work with a therapist, you could work with an astrologer. And so I like the aspect of the Temperance coming up because it can be saying that there can be a lot of healing in your one-on-one relationships and your connections with people. It can be bringing in a relationship that can be very therapeutic. You can be working with a coach or a mentor or a trainer, somebody who can kind of help you fine-tune the direction of where you're going. And then the final card that you get is the Six of Wands, which is a card of victory. This is also about being well received. It's also a period that really talks about being triumphant, being able to overcome things. And I think a lot of that is just really fine-tuning some of the Saturn and Aries transit where you're not looking before you leap, right? You're not rushing into relationships. You're not rushing into new business partnerships. You're not rushing to have new things you're selling or new things that you're doing. You're really kind of pacing yourself. And it is saying that there is going to be a sense of being victorious, and possibly because you've had all of last year to kind of like prepare, right? I think that with the Temperance card coming up in the center, it's a major arcana card. So it's also saying that this might be something that you're dealing with clear into Sagittarius season. So being a Sag sun, you might see a lot of these kind of transformations really start to materialize as you're getting to, you know, your birthday month. It could also mean the full moon in Sagittarius is going to be a time that you're going to want to watch because that can be some like balance and completion. And obviously from the whole sign perspective, your sun in Sagittarius talks about being in the third house of the mind and communication. So what you'll see is some really beautiful stuff. Things are going to move very quickly. I mean, you've heard, I'm not a Chinese astrologer, but we're going into the fire horse year. So from what I understand with that, it's fiery, it's very volatile. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of unpredictable things that happen. And it's like people having to be super brave and like seizing the moment. So what I'm looking at, because you do have somebody who's on a horse and you also do have all these arrows that are being pointed into the sky, it's kind of saying you have to be in those positions where you have to kind of strike where the iron is hot. As you see Saturn kind of go through Aries, it's going to form trines to Sagittarius. So traveling, learning, communicating, contracts may all be themes. And then you'll also see in the summer that Jupiter is going to go into Leo, which is going to be in your 11th house, which is going to be trining Saturn in the 7th. So you can broaden your horizon socially, you can meet new relationships, you can network, you can bring in new clients, you can be dating, you can make new friends. And that's all going to kind of highlight your third house of communication and also like transportation or mobility. So we'll see a lot of like Libra risings that will move. We're going to see a lot of them that are going to get new cards. We're also going to see some of them that are going to be initiating new groups. So they're going to be doing like group meetups. So they're going to be like traveling with friends and connecting with new people. So it's just a matter of timing and really knowing that the immediate next, I think, 8 weeks are going to be really prominent. And I would say that astrologically as well. If you look at the transits, I mean, February's got quite the pile up, you know, an eclipse in your 5th house. You've got Saturn and Neptune that are going to meet in your 7th house. And it does really talk about this need to be patient to wait for certain old relationship patterns to kind of untangle or kind of dissolve. And then if you're single, it can bring a new person in. And if you're in a relationship, it can be kind of like a defining moment in a relationship. And really it looks like you're focusing on what is in balance, what's in harmony, and like what's healthy. So much of the Saturn-Neptune transit can be, am I dealing with people who are not healthy for me to be around? Or do they have bad habits? Are they having emotional or psychological issues? Are they feeling distant? And the Temperance card is just saying, keep doing what you're doing, hold space, you know, try to support other people as they're going through stuff. But needing to know where the boundary of where you start and others begin is going to be very difficult with Saturn and Neptune in your 7th. So not letting people project onto you, not taking on other people's issues, you know, being mindful of some of the red flags. And if you can kind of pace yourself through this time, especially through, I would say, about April, then things are going to start to become a little bit more clear. And I do think that it's going to be quite an exciting year for you, because it does look like there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of creativity, there's like a lot of enthusiasm, and an opportunity also to like feel like you're being supported by other people rather than feeling like you're kind of getting beaten down. So hopefully that's helpful for you, Omar. You'll definitely have to let me know what happens. Thanks, BL Will, for joining. All right, and then I see a 3-card pull coming in for, I think, what was that? Hasinia? I keep getting ads, sorry guys. All right, I'll add you to my list. Appreciate it. Let's take a look. Okay, so Vicky popped up. She says, level 4 here. You said to watch Bill's health in February and March. Can you pull some cards to give me some more info? Yes, I will. Let me add you on here. Jenna and Amanda, you guys are on deck next, okay? All right, so let's see what we can tell Vicky about her partner, the Pisces. Is there anything that the cards need to tell us about his health this month? Is there anything that is coming up that we need to be aware of? Any guidance? We've got Judgment, 6 of Cups, and we've got the 3 of Coins. All very good cards. Judgment card is kind of saying that it is going to come to like a definitive turning point where he's going to realize that there needs to be some things that need to change, but it looks like he has support. And I don't know if it's going to be about his work habits or his eating habits or his financial habits. Obviously, Pentacles can deal with health, work, you know, or money. So those are the things that are kind of coming up. But these are still good cards. The Judgment card is interesting because I really connect this to like karma. I connect this to definitive turning points where if something is meant to happen, if something is meant to be taken care of, if something needs to start or something needs to be ended, or we need to really make a final decision, the Judgment card comes up. And so not to be like doom and gloom, but like to be honest with you guys, you know, Saturn is the Lord of karma, right? That's what he deals with. And going into the sign of Aries, it means that karma is going to be doled out very quickly. We're going to see a lot of swift things taking place over the next couple of months. And it is conjuncting Neptune. So, you know, traditional astrologers, it's going to be a time where we're going to see some kind of collective grief, or we're going to see some collective mourning, or there's going to be this kind of dissolving of things. And we're going to see that there's been like illusions and we have to suffer, but in that suffering, we end up kind of toughening up. It's brief, but it will echo for some time because those conjunctions get reactivated several times throughout this year because Neptune's going to be around that 0 degrees when it retrogrades. So I really feel like with the Judgment card coming up, there are things that he's been needing to make changes on for some time that I feel like keep coming up for him. And I say that because the 6 of Cups comes up, which talks about reevaluating, reassessing, going back. It can also mean that he can emotionally be holding on to things that are not healthy for him, that he can be reminiscing and focusing on the past or how things used to feel or how things used to be, how he used to connect with certain people. And it can even mean like with his children, or it can mean with like childhood friends. And usually when the 6 of Cups comes up, it is this offering to be able to reconnect to the past, send it a little bit of love, not hold on to it, and kind of like set it free, right? This is the card of like reunion or reconnection. So it may mean that he may have this realization that's like, you know what, I used to eat a certain way, I used to go to the gym all the time, I used to take certain supplements, I used to see that doctor, maybe I'll go back. And it makes sense because you're going to have these retrogrades or these energies that are going to be connected to Pisces, and you'll see that play out. It'll be end of February through March. We've got an eclipse that's highlighting the opposition in Virgo. We've got a Mercury retrograde that's connected to the eclipse. And it will retrograde conjunct Venus. So it may mean that he's coming back to you for advice, right? Or he's asking you, what do you think I could do? How can I make a tweak? Like, how can I fix this? Or like, what would you advise? And it does look like that exchange is not like negative. It looks like it's positive. And somebody being like, well, I think you could be better in this area. And like, what do you need? You've got my support. Let me help you. And him having support in taking care of his health or making some changes to either his financial habits, his eating habits, or his work habits, just be gentle with him, because I do feel like for him to open up with the 6 of Cups and ask for help, it's not really in his nature. It may also mean that you're bringing up some things to him that he's oblivious to, that he's not aware of, and he's kind of like in many ways a little idealistic when it comes to his health. He may not recognize or realize that he's getting older, or that there are certain things that he's kind of not taking care of. What's beautiful is that the Three of Pentacles comes up. So now it's about working as a team, right? So if he has something that comes up health-wise, nothing here is saying that it's going to be, you know, super dramatic or like the end of the world, but it is saying that he's going to need a support team, right? Or support system. So there may be three facets to this. It might be that it's not just about one thing. You know, there is potentially some symptoms that are connecting to two other things that can be repressed emotions. It can also mean that he's being referred to a specialist, or he's being, you know, sent to go and talk to two separate doctors, or he's having to kind of weigh the options if he wants to just focus on treatment, or if he wants to focus on prevention. And the three represents the mind, body, and spirit. So there's three separate kind of energies here that might be impacting him. This does mean he should still be working. If he's working, he should still, you know, be sound health-wise. I don't see anything really detrimental with this, but he's going to need some support from other people through the process. And it also can sometimes be about investing more time or more money into getting it right. So rather than like a quick fix, right? So for example, you know, somebody's got immune system issues, they constantly keep getting sick, and they're just, I would rather go and just, you know, pick up the Dayquil or the NyQuil, or I'm just going to, you know, take the throat lozenges and then just go to sleep. But not wanting to correct their diet, not wanting to check with the doctor, you know, not wanting to take vitamins. Like, those are things that they could do to get to the root cause of it, rather than just kind of focusing on just treating, you know, the symptoms. That's kind of what comes up with that Three of Pentacles. So I think that if this were me, I'd keep an eye on him for the immediate next 3 months. That's really what this seems to be. And if something is reoccurring, or if something keeps coming back up, or if there's something that's coming up and he's kind of a little idealistic, like, that's not a big deal, I would be like, maybe it is a big deal. And like, this has happened a couple times. So like, what can we do to really get to the root cause of the problem? And I do think that it is saying it's a definitive turning point where it's like, it actually needs to happen now. So try to handle that with him like tactfully, and be mindful that he may not be emotionally aware that there are some things that he might be kind of self-sabotaging, but it does look like he's going to have the support of a team, and I don't really see anything that's going to be like the end of the world. Okay. So hopefully that's helpful for you. What's up, puppies? She says, I hate Valentine's Day because I'm single for a long time. I want to see what the cards show this month in general. I realized I need to heal, make friendships, and focus inward. All right, so let me put you on my level 4 list, puppies. Jenna and Amanda, you guys are still on deck. All right, so let's see what we can tell puppies. What do the cards have to say for you this month in general? You're welcome, Vicky. What does she need to know this month? Give us the reading. All right, in this order, I've got the Three of Wands, the Nine of Cups, and the Four of Coins. Good combo. I mean, I think it's interesting because it does make me feel like there's like a push-pull energy that kind of comes up with these cards, because the Three of Wands is just like, yeah, I'm ready to get out there. And the Four of Coins is like, I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit. I think that the elements are well kind of distributed. We've got Wands for creativity, action, and motivation. We've got Cups for emotions and anything that deals with healing or relationships or your intuition. We've got Pentacles, which talks about this kind of regroundedness. I would caution you against trying to have a plan right now. I think that's the key. Because sometimes when I see the Four of Coins coming up at the end of the reading, it means that a client's going to be like, I don't want change, or I don't want to do this, or I have to wait until a allotted period of time before I'm dating again, or before I move on, or before I heal. Healing is not linear, and you'd be surprised how quickly you can actually heal and like feel like you're getting to the point where you are ready when you're not paying attention to limits or time. That's the thing that I would say to you. Three of Wands represents being excited about what the future holds and getting ready to like go on an adventure. So it can mean you're starting a new venture, you're learning something new, you're planning a road trip, you're traveling. And it's also encouraging you to really incorporate having things to look forward to. Make plans, right? So you know, okay, I want to hang out with my friends more. I get invited to something, it's going to be next Friday. I'm putting it on the calendar, I'm telling them I'm going. And you have that to kind of look forward to all week. It can also mean that you're not limiting your options right now. You could date, you could not, right? You could travel, you could stay home, you could study, or you could focus on work. It doesn't matter. Try to keep an open mind because it's saying all the ships are now coming in. So if you're keeping that kind of line of opportunity where the universe can intervene right now, it would actually be really positive for you, and just have things that you can be looking forward to, especially like over the better part of the next 3 weeks. But certainly traveling, connecting with friends, doing things that are outside of your usual kind of hangouts and haunts would be really good this month. The second card that you get is the Nine of Cups, which is basically saying, if you do this, you'll get what you want. This is also the card of fulfillment. It's about feeling emotionally good. It's about being pleased. This is the green light, like wish being granted card, right? Traditionally in the Rider-Waite, you see like this guy sitting with all the cups and he's got like this big like shit-eating grin. So it can represent feeling complete, feeling wealthy in a sense of accomplishment. And sometimes it's emotionally cups, right? Sometimes it means that it's in a relationship sense. But also maybe it means that it's kind of coming to terms with and making peace with being single and being like, hey, this isn't so bad. I have the freedom to come and go as I please. I can do what I want. I can focus on my own happiness. I can have a good time. And this is really about wanting that right now. What's interesting is that the final card that you get is the Four of Coins. So it may mean that this is a month where you're learning not to limit yourself. You're learning not to put a timeline on things. It can also mean that there are things that you're wanting to do or things that you're wanting to plan and you're kind of saving up for it, because this is travel and this is about kind of like indulging. So if you know there's trips you want to go on, things you want to do, people you want to see, it's basically saying this is the month where you're going to get serious and you're going to go, I'm investing more in the things that are going to bring me joy. It may be experiences, it may not be material things, because it's very much worth it from an emotional standpoint of having these experiences. I would caution you against being too closed off, or like I said, having definition of when you can actually start dating or when you're going to be healed. Try to be open, because whenever I see the Four of Pentacles, it can represent holding on to something too tightly, or it can even represent that if you're holding on to something, you know, you're kind of blocking the flow of things coming in, right? So like, what is it that you're blocking? She says, I like how I got 3 different elements. And you're right, last astrology reading, I'm trying to be more social and get out of my comfort zone. So, I mean, you know, and like I said, maybe this is also a matter of just kind of gauging, where's my money best spent? Where's my time best spent? And maybe, you know, you're feeling overwhelmed because there's too many options and you're having to kind of pick and choose what you feel like is going to be where your time is going to be, you know, the most utilized. But opening up and being around people, like I think this card is a great card for going and connecting with new communities, or if you're going to be traveling or going to another side of town, or if you're going to be doing a meetup, because it says that you're going to be connecting with other people who are seeking the same thing. So you're not going to feel like you're like a fish out of water. You're going to be around other people who are also trying to socialize and make new friends and connect. And like the eclipse that is coming in February is in Aquarius. It's signaling that the North Node's going into Aquarius. We've got 2 years now of, I'm hoping, like the return of meetup groups, new online groups. There's going to be new communities. I think we're going to see that a lot of people are just going to want to kind of get out of like this, I don't know, almost like this echo chamber of just the usual people and things that they're hearing and seeing and experiencing, whether it's in person or online. And we're going to see a lot of people who are going to be wanting to have fun again. I mean, come on, Jupiter's going into Leo. We're going to see people who are going to want to travel. They're going to party. I think we're going to see clubbing come back. I think we're going to see a lot of house parties and social events. People are going to want to let off some steam. So if I look at this, I feel like start thinking about the places you want to go, the things you want to do, meeting people who have similar interests as you, because that's going to make you feel a little bit more emotionally, I think, secure with the Nine of Cups coming up. And do not limit yourself right now. Try to stay open. And a lot of the Four of Coins can be about, you know, if you're feeling kind of like insecure or conscious, just taking note of where there's like stress in the body, or where you're clenching your jaw, or where you're fiddling with your hands, or where you have a tendency to kind of clam up. It wants you to be in environments where you're going to be comfortable. 3 of Wands is they're out in the open, right? So I would look at this and I'm like, hiking, gardening, you know, anything that's outdoor related, anything that can be, you know, extracurriculars outside or in a park, maybe places where they're doing food and wine tasting, or there's cooking classes would also be nice with like the Nine of Cups that's coming up, where you're going to be in an environment that just feels comfortable. So you're allowing yourself to open up a little bit. And certainly I have seen with the Nine of Cups and the Four of Coins, people are like, I need to be in an environment where I can have a drink, where I feel like I'm not going to be like so, you know, like anxious. And so, you know, that can be part of it. I'm not saying you should, But I definitely feel like anything where you're going to have big out open spaces or, places that are going to feel open and not kind of confining, and allowing you to just be in an environment where you feel like you can be yourself, looks like that's going to be the key. You're going to be doing this for the next couple months. So it's going to be about a 4-month period. I do think that in the end, you'll realize that putting yourself in different environments and different dynamics is actually really good for you, because I think you're going to meet some new friends and people who are going to be like, hey, do you want to hang out again? Let's do something, right? So hopefully that's helpful for you, but definitely a good kickoff to February, that's for sure. Thanks for being a member. All right, we've got Jenna, Amanda, and Spoken for Eternity. You guys are all next. So let's take a look and let's see what we've got here. All right, so Jenna says, I'm a Virgo rising, Pisces moon, Leo sun. I got an astrology reading with you last week, and I wanted to see what tarot has to say regarding timing for a man coming into my life, solid relationship, and anything to know about this person or how to best align. Well, let's do it. Let's see what's going on. All right, so what can we tell Jenna about a potential relationship vibe, about somebody that's coming into her life, anything to know about this person, and how to best align? We have got the Two of Swords, the Ace of Cups, the King of Cups. I'm laughing because you're a Virgo rising and you're a Pisces moon. So thankfully Saturn and Neptune are leaving Pisces. So that's going to be good for Virgo risings because it's opening the door to like kind of clearing some of the karma. And you'll see other eclipses that are going to be happening in Pisces that'll be taking place over the summer. But look at how watery these cards are, right? So I think of the Two of Swords as kind of feeling cross with situations, being like, if I do this, does that mean it's going to negatively affect relationships? If I do that, does that mean somebody will or won't come in? And like this feeling of like not knowing and being blind. My advice is, especially, and I probably said this to you like over the next like month or so, because you're going to see retrogrades in Pisces, out of sight, out of mind. Right? Especially with the Two of Swords coming up, because you can't do anything to screw up fate. Like if somebody's meant to come into your life, they will come into your life. I do think a lot of it can be about this emotional closure that you're getting with where you didn't get clarity in past relationships, or you're still healing something, or like obviously somebody can come back when you have a Mercury retrograde in your 7th house next month. But the Two of Swords makes me feel like you're still kind of 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Like part of you really does want somebody new, but there can be question marks in regards to, am I going to miss my opportunity? Is there somebody from the past that's going to come back? Is history going to repeat itself? Don't question what's going on with the universe right now, because the final kind of karmic cleansing in relationship land will happen basically over the next 2 months. I also feel like this is saying that it might be good for you to go on a blind date. When people are asking me about dating and like meeting people or anything like that, like when I see the Two of Swords, I always tell people, don't base it off of what people look like. And also see if there is a connection where somebody's wanting to kind of connect you or hook you up with somebody based off of your personality and their personality. There can be a match where you don't know what they look like, or it can also represent somebody who you've overlooked, or somebody who you have not considered, or somebody who's had their eye on you, but you were not aware. Now that's the past position card. So we move to the current position card. And of course, the card that everybody wants to see when they're asking about dating and relationships is the Ace of Cups. So it is confirming that there is a relationship that is in your future, okay? And sometimes when the aces come up, it can be talking about the spring. It can, I think, more be talking about the summer. But there is a King of Cups coming up as well. So it can be implying that either in the month of March, or it can be something in the month of like June going into July when we're in the water months. So Pisces season, and then also in Cancer season is when you want to pay attention. Also, knowing your astrology, that's when you have, retrogrades that are going to be making aspects or somehow kind of connected to your 7th house. So you will see things that are going to happen at that time. The Ace of Cups is a renewal or like a new beginning in the love department. So the Ace is the beginning, the 10 is the completion. So it does indicate, yes, there's a new relationship that's coming in. It is about an offer or a connection or an opportunity to kind of heal the heart. It's about being open-minded, and if somebody is trying to kind of connect with you, getting to know them and like really focusing on the emotional connection. It can also indicate that it's the start of something really good. It can mean that it can evolve into something that can be long lasting. It can also mean this is a card that is connected with like true love and like, you know, romantic relationships that can be more committed. And I would be watching for what people ask you, because the Ace of Cups can show up as somebody who's like, do you want to grab a coffee? Like literally it's a cup, you know, you want to get a drink? It can also be somebody who's, you know, giving you a gift, or somebody who's giving you flowers, and some kind of emotional exchange that you're having with this person and being like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that that was like a potential, like I think this person's into me. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that you'll see it at first. Then we've got the King of Cups, which obviously does connect to water signs. So Pisces, Scorpios, Cancers, you know, they could be one of those people. King of Cups is generally, they have a tendency to have kind of like longer hair, like wavier hair. They can be like fair in their skin tone. They can also have some of like a warmer or kind of like a blonde kind of hair color. Usually you'll meet them by water, or there's some connection to like the beach, or like a rainy day, or there can be a connection to a lake. Sometimes, you know, places that you'll find him will be associated with, you know, places that you go and you eat, or you're grabbing a drink or going to a bar, because the chalices is kind of the theme. But usually when the King of Cups comes up with the Ace of Cups, it's basically saying somebody really sweet is coming into your life, and that this is somebody who can be very mature when it comes to their emotions, wear their heart on their sleeve, but they're not reckless like the Knights. What they say is what they mean, and it's also somebody who's like very charming. Sometimes they have a tendency to have lighter eye colors, so I would say watch for that as well. And any connection to anything by water or dealing with water, even like pools or lakes and stuff like that, watch for that. But it does look like this is something that you can't screw up with the Two of Swords coming up, and also it's something you don't see yet. So it may be talking about just connecting with that person like in a meditative state, right? I think that can be part of it prior to connecting with him. So whether you want to write a letter to him, you know, on like a new moon, or you're wanting to meditate on like love and connecting with this person and telling them, hey, I'm waiting for you, you're coming in, you know, like this is where I'm going to be, like come and find me. But there's something that's like really sweet and like very sensitive and very gentle about the Ace of Cups coming up with the King of Cups. And I'd be very surprised if there isn't some kind of connection that happens by the summer. Hopefully that's helpful for you. All right, we have got Amanda, and then we've got Spoken for Eternity. You're welcome, puppies. What's up, David? David's in the chat. All right, so let's take a look. Let's see what we can tell Miss Amanda. What's up, Amanda? Hey, girl. As you know, the past few months have been tough. It's a 29-degree Virgo rising. Hopefully things are looking up. For the next 3 months, can you pull 3 cards on love energy, reconnection, and eclipse influence with any advice for my highest good? All right, so let's do that. So we're going to do eclipse. Let's see. For love, reconnection, and eclipse. So let's take a look. Love, reconnection, eclipse. All right, love, reconnection, eclipse. Interesting, you got 2 pages. So there's new energy that's kind of coming in. I would say in the love department, you know, the Page of Pentacles means that there is an investment that's going into like trying to find a partnership or relationship. It's the beginning process. Pages can represent something that's new that's coming in. It can mean that it's just the beginning process, the beginning phase. It also can be about you connecting with an earth sign. Okay, so Virgos, Capricorns, Tauruses, these are the signs that you're going to want to watch for the most. Younger people can sometimes come in when pages come up, but the Page of Coins is like saying, I'm only investing in things that I feel like are going to be good for me in the long term. I'm only considering people who I feel like are solid or reliable. It can also mean that you want to see people really like showing you that they value you, right? So sometimes with the Page of Coins, they come and they bring a gift, or they do something thoughtful, or they do something considerate, or they're trying to help you, or maybe you connect with them through work or business in some way. So I would say watch for that. This can also mean that you're really thinking in the long term, what changes do I need to be making, or what things do I need to be doing or participating in if I want to be meeting somebody who's going to be long-term potential. So I think about, you know, as a Virgo rising, yes, you're going to see the Venus the Mercury retrograde that's going to happen at the end of the month, but it's happening predominantly in your 6th house, right? And it's going to be with Venus. So like a lot of late degree Virgo risings and Libra risings are going to go, do I want to go to the gym? You know, do I want to go to a new health spa? Do I want to be focusing on, you know, trying to get into meditation class? Do I want to be going to a yoga class? And so I think with the Page of Coins coming up, it's saying like if you're doing things to better yourself, better your health, your body, and your spirit, it can open the door to you meeting other people who are on the same path to like self-betterment. And it can actually be a really good opportunity for you to connect with somebody who is going to be on your level, right? For reconnection, I mean, you got Ten of Swords. So, I mean, the Ten of Swords is basically like saying that's done, that's over, like that ship has sailed. When you look at the Ten of Swords, it's kind of dark, you can't really see it, but there's like a guy laying on his back and he's got all of the different swords in him and the sun is kind of setting. It's basically saying like end scene, like there's been a lot of hurt or there's been a lot of pain or there has been some things that have happened where you felt like you got stabbed in the back or you feel like there is no coming back or that there is a very small chance of there being a reunion because you feel like some of the things that have happened can't be undone, that there is no coming back from that. I mean, literally the guy's like dead on the ground. So it's saying that you're still in the beginning process of like healing some of that and recovering, that it would almost be like trying to resuscitate the relationship, but that the relationship, there's no oxygen, right? So you can't really bring it back. I don't necessarily think there's going to be a reconnection with this, although, I mean, the astrology does suggest with a Mercury retrograde, there is a very good likelihood that you may hear from somebody from the past, but I think your time and your energy with this card coming up is better like letting things lie the way that it is right now and recognizing that the time is going to be better spent pouring into your own cup rather than feeling like you're trying to kind of resuscitate something that's not going to work. As for the energy that's kind of connected to the eclipse and the eclipse influence, you know, once again, predominantly going to be in your 5th house, which is also a new initiation for creativity, joy, dating, having fun, self-expression, things that you create. So you'll see that it's going to be like the catalyst that you'll see kind of unfold for the better part of, you know, 6 to about 24 months of having more fun, being more creative, going out, having a good time, meeting people. I think it's going to be an awesome eclipse. I think it'll be interesting because you're Virgo rising. So it's kind of in conjunct or quincunx your eclipse. So I would say, you know, health stuff does sometimes come up with that. So keep an eye on that. Changes with your schedule, changes with your job, could be picking up the energy of the 6th. But the Page of Wands is a new fiery opportunity perspective. It could mean that suddenly now there's like a light switch that's been turned on, or it's like striking the match and going, I'm ready to get out there. I want to have some fun. I want some adventure. I want to take chances. I want to play. And so pages are very youthful, kind of fun energy. So I would encourage you to do something that's active and also something where you're going to be having a good time. Possibly what you may find, because the eclipse is also going to have, you know, Venus that's going to be in Pisces, so it can open the door to relationships. But Mars is going to be in the same sign as the eclipse. So I've told a lot of like my late degree Virgo risings, early Libra risings, go to where the fun is, right? The 5th house is you go to the bars, you go to the clubs, you go to the casinos, you go to the parties, you go where there's theatrical performances. Like you need to be places where there's stages. And so I do think that if you're doing that, it's going to not only be good for you because you're going to be in that vibe of the eclipse within the 5th house, and it's going to bring out that more playful, youthful energy, but it's also going to make you feel a little bit more inspired, and it's probably going to kind of just energetically light you up and make it more likely that you're getting kind of tapped into that energy. So you can be dating, you can be connecting with people, you can be having fun, and kind of infusing also fun and flow into your routine can be good too. So like I know a lot of I think people who have those placements are going to start changing their schedule so they can make more time for social opportunities, or they're going to be saying, okay, you know, I want to find a way to kind of work out and have fun. So I'm going to take a dance class, or I'm going to, you know, do something that's going to be creative, and I'm working that into my schedule. So that Page of Wands can also represent more kind of creative, you know, youthful individuals who are coming into your life who can be fire signs. So Aries, obviously Leos, Sagittariuses, these can be people who can pop up. But I have a feeling for you, it's like feeling like, how can I schedule more time into my schedule that allows me to either have fun and have extracurriculars or potentially be able to do some traveling or doing some learning. So the 2 pages are a wonderful kind of kickoff. It does indicate there's, you know, 2 beginnings that are on the horizon, but still kind of working through letting go of the potential of wondering whether or not there's going to be a reconnection. It's basically saying, try to keep up the momentum of the things that are happening on both sides. Like really focus on the forward momentum, and things will start to kind of shake out emotionally, especially with like the breakup. Probably the latter part of March when the Mercury retrograde is over. There will still be eclipses in Pisces down the road though. So, you know, you'll see that in the summer, which can really open the door to other relationships that can actually come in. She says he was cheating and kept coming back, but he's in the rebound relationship. I wonder if he's coming back in the retrograde. If he does, I mean, then another retrograde that you'll want to watch is probably going to be the Venus retrograde. Venus will retrograde with Mercury in the fall. So that could be another one that you can watch for. Muriel says, I resent another PayPal with a question. So one is the full payment and one has the question. No worries. Hopefully that was helpful for you, Amanda. All right, we have got Spoken for Eternity, Ellen, and then we've got, what is that, Brianna? You guys are all on deck. And I did not forget about my super chat. I know that you're there. You're right after Muriel. All right, so Spoken for Eternity says, am I done struggling? How do I pivot to align the next 3 months with my income, with love, and the future? I'm a Virgo rising. First house Pisces sun. Hold on a second. I'm trying to read this. How do I pivot and align the next 3 months with my income, love, and future? Virgo rising. First house Pisces sun. 3 and have descendant Pisces here. Saturn here is 26. I can't make sense of all of what you're putting on here. Probably because there's a bunch of like dashes and stuff. So I'm trying to understand what you were saying with your future Virgo rising. First house Pisces sun. So how are you a Virgo rising if you're first house Pisces sun? And have descendant and Venus here in the 7th house, Leo moon. Saturn is here, 26 degrees in the 12th house. I would say come back for an astrology reading. Well, let's take a look and see what I can tell you, how you can pivot or realign the next 3 months with your income, love, and also your future. But also I would say if you are a Virgo rising, because that looks like what you put there, Saturn and Neptune going into Aries is pretty good on the money department. It's now about shifting things and being able to receive support from other people. It's like that karmic time for the next 2 years where it's about receiving more security, finances, support, you know? So the pivot makes sense. But let's see what we can tell you about these things over the next 3 months. Sometimes PayPal kind of chops up your message and puts up like a bunch of like weird like apostrophes and stuff if you use too much like editing on it. I don't know why it does that. Wow, 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 wow. Look at this. 3 majors. The Devil card, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Moon. I've talked to a lot of Virgo risings. I kind of feel like because you guys have just been kind of battered and bruised with so many of the challenges of Saturn and Neptune going through your opposite sign, it's almost like, are things going to settle? And I would say yes, but you're going to see that there's still going to be a lot of change on the horizon. Like pretty much you're going to see love stuff kind of shifting, especially right around end of February going into March, because you've got a retrograde in your relationship house and then you've got an eclipse in your sign in opposition to it. So there's a lot of restabilizing where you stand with other people this month into next month. What's interesting about this is that, you know, it starts with the Devil card. So the Devil card can be Saturn. It can be saying you're kind of finishing up and concluding and like finishing up anything that deals with karmic patterns in love or in career or in financial situations. It does kind of highlight, you know, where the next theme of Saturn is going to be going. And I think that really now that you have really reevaluated where you've been in the love department, now it's like, okay, if relationships are still standing, then it's like, how do we come together and build together? Or how do I have more kind of intimacy or more security? Or how do I feel better supported in the relationships that I'm in? I also feel like the Devil card is like saying that there's been a lot of like struggling, like that you've been struggling and feeling like you've been trying to untangle yourself from situations where you have felt stuck and you have not been able to kind of get out of never ending, you know, like either financial cycles or debt cycles, or there's been fears in relationships and blockages coming up, or maybe that there has just been some challenges in being able to kind of really feel like you can start new patterns. So, you know, you're moving away from that. That's the previous card. Now you're going to be moving more into the Wheel of Fortune, which is saying, look, things are changing, and they definitely are. Obviously, you're ruled by Mercury, so you'll see during the Mercury retrogrades, like we're going to have February into March, June into July, we're going to see it October into November. These are times where the wheel is going to kind of turn for you, and you're going to see that you can get in or out of a situation if you need to. But this is a card that deals with Jupiter. It is a card that deals with positive things and like the universe kind of intervening. And I think now Saturn and Neptune is going to the part of the chart that it's not really bothering you too much. It's in the 8th house now. So this is going to represent total transformation of self, renewal, regeneration, psychological themes, dealing with debt. And it can actually be saying there's a lot of good changes that are going to be coming up for you, that you're going to see that there can be some like lucky moments or some breakthroughs that you can kind of see financially, or opportunities. Also, the wheel sometimes talks about, karmic favors being kind of repaid. And I would say that for Virgo rising chart, watching Saturn and Neptune go in the 8th house. If people owe you something now you're going to be focusing on collecting it, especially for the next couple of months. The final card that you get is the Moon card. And so the Moon card obviously represents what we cannot see in the dark. Okay, so if we get a little freaked out because we can't quite see into the future, we don't know where things are going, we can kind of get a little like crazy. There can be a sense of psyching ourselves out, freaking ourselves out. I mean, I look at this and I go, yes, things have been rough. Things look like they're going to be looking up. If you're maintaining that sense of hope and optimism and really being open to what the future has in store and not being doom and gloom and being like, actually, probably some of the things that are going to change are going to be a good thing. And there's no need to fear the fact that you can't quite see right now. I also get the impression that a lot of this is like a trust fall with the universe. That, and I've said this before in my videos and I'll continue to keep saying it, where energy and attention flows, like everything goes. So if it's this, everything's been bad, nothing's been working, it's been too hard, I'm stuck here mindset, then the universe is going to go, okay, let me give you some more of that just to see how much you like it, right? Or are you going to kind of look at the silver lining or the glass being half full? Are you going to say, hey, good things are happening to me, everything is changing, I'm feeling supported, good luck and good news is on the way? It'll be able to kind of calm things down for you when you're kind of feeling like you're doubting whether or not you have some support out there. The Moon card can also talk about your intuition. It can talk about your dreams and things that are kind of coming up for you, and that there can be a lot of things that are kind of getting flushed out for you, like while you're dreaming or while you're in meditation. And this card deals a lot with also the darker side of our subconscious, and that if there are things that have been kind of hiding and kind of residing there that we're not kind of dealing with, it's going to kind of come out to play. All of the majors mean that you're going to see very, very, very significant changes. This is talking about Saturn. So we talked about Saturn going into your 8th. This is talking about Jupiter. Jupiter's still hanging out in Cancer. You're going to see it kind of wake up in March, which is really good for community and faithful connections with people and networking. This is connecting to anything that deals with the moon. This is also has like a strong association with like Cancer. But I would say, the lunar eclipse is when there is that final conclusion and completion, especially in the relationship kind of karma department. If you go back and you think about last year in September, there was a solar eclipse in Virgo that opposed Pisces, right? So it was a solar eclipse. So now you're going to see the full moon eclipse that's going to be happening. That's the conclusion of that in Virgo. And this is where a lot of Virgos are going to go, okay, I'm releasing any doubt, or now I'm releasing relationship, or now I'm kind of, working with a therapist or working with an astrologer, or a new partnership that's coming in. And like, you're not supposed to figure all of this out by yourself. You're not going to do it alone. Now you're going to start seeing people who are going to show up and help you. I think part of that's coming from community. I think part of that's also coming from the fact that you're realizing that there is some dead weight in your life and it's time to kind of cut them loose. And maybe there's a fear of doing that, right? The moon card is just like, well, am I going to be alone? You're not going to be alone. It's going to be fine. I'm reading what you're saying now. So Virgo rising, Pisces sun, Leo moon. So, and that's hard when you're a Virgo rising and you have your sun in the 7th, because that tells me that you're used to being in relationships with people who are either crazy, foreigners, people who are spiritual, or people who kind of run and hide. Take your pick. You've probably seen all of those things that have kind of happened. So what you're going to be experiencing now, I think with like Jupiter coming into conjunction with your moon, especially, in this next year, is really big karmic relationship things happening, potential for foreign travel, connection with people, really a lot of romance behind the scenes. But there's a final act that is about to happen with relationships. And so if you feel like you're not getting what you want, you need to cut something off, likely. If you are wanting to go deeper with somebody, then you need to get clarity, because I think your intuition is going to be telling you, if it's not this, something better is coming. Hold space and trust that whatever's getting shaken out right now is just karma clearing itself. And when Saturn leaves the house, he leaves a gift. So it's very common that I've seen for a lot of Virgo risings, you know, they go into that transit where they're in a relationship, and then if a relationship's not going to make it, then the relationship ends. And then towards the tail end of the transit, a new person comes in, and it's like a relationship that will actually really stick. And that's because you work through the karma of the 7th house before the other person arrived. Now, nothing here is saying there's going to be a breakup or that there's going to be anything dramatic. It's just saying that you're really reevaluating kind of the psychic hold other people have on you. It could also mean that maybe you're tired of some of the karmic entanglements that you have with some of these individuals, or you're tired of feeling limited and that you don't have the freedom that you want. And now that's starting to kind of come up from your subconscious, and now it's going to be kind of addressed over the better part of like the next month or so. So hopefully that's helpful for you and giving you a little bit of insight spoken. Definitely let me know. What a time for all the stuff that you got going on in your astrology though. All right, so for those of you guys who are checking in, if you still want to get a reading, scan the QR code right up there. You can get in the queue. I've got Omar that came back. I just saw you. I've got Matt V, Brandon, Muriel, Brenna, Ellen. All of you guys are in the queue. And then after Muriel, I'm going to take the super chat, so I did not forget about you. Let's see what Ellen has to say. You're welcome. Okay, Ellen says 27-degree Leo rising. So that eclipse is right on your descendant. Sun in Aries at 5 degrees, Cancer moon. Whoa, so you got Saturn and Neptune crossing your sun, squaring your moon. Eclipse is on your descendant. My last reading with you, I asked if I'd get a job with an electrical contractor. I had the interview and it went well, but I haven't received the offer yet. Your reading indicated a job would start around the new moon. Does this hold true? Well, let's take a look. So does it look like Ellen's going to get this job for the electrical contractor position that she interviewed for? And if so, do you have any indication on timing? Well, that's a card that I want to see. We have got the Ace of Cups, the 5 of Swords, the Knight of Cups. All right, so here's what I think is going on. First of all, you've got 2 cards that deal with cups and offering. Ace of Cups, which is about an offering of position, relationship, and working together. And the Knight of Pentacles, which represents being like, okay, here's the offer, you know, let's get going. When can you get started? Like, let's get this on the move. Both of those cards coming up are quite positive. The one thing that's a little bit of a stinker that's in the middle is like the 5 of Swords. So that can reference like you feeling a little conflicted or feeling a little frustrated or kind of questioning whether or not, do I reach out to them? Are they going to reach out to me? You know, do I need to make a connection with somebody? It's almost as if I really feel like they're still going through either interview process and they're still talking to other people before they're making a decision. I think that's what's happening. Usually when the Ace of Cups comes up in the past position, okay, you made the connection, you know, you talked to them, you guys had a good vibe for each other, it seems like it was a good fit, and they probably seemed like very receptive, very warm, and very friendly, and like open to talking to you about working with you or you know, what have you. I think they were sizing you up. Right now, you get that 5 of Swords. And so usually at the 5 of Swords, you see somebody who's like standing around and everybody else is kind of on the ground, and it could represent a last man standing situation. So it's very likely they're going through a list of candidates and like they're interviewing people, and then they're crossing names off the list and they're like, nope, we don't like that one. Nope, we don't like that one. Nope, we don't like that one. And then they may be actually working their way down the list until they have very few people, which they may do a second interview for, okay? Or they may be a callback for. I don't know if it's just gonna be point blank, hey, we want you to take the job. Are you ready? It could also mean that they're possibly putting things on hold because they could be offering a position to another person, but that other person may not be receptive, or they may be like, actually, no, I found a job, you know, while I was in the process of interviewing and I've already committed to somebody else. And then the company comes back around and they go, hey, by the way, when can you start? You know, so there is a callback that's coming. There is going to be some reconnection that's coming. Yes, I can see that you're kind of frustrated because you haven't gotten it yet. I can also see that the 5 of Swords is a little conflicted as to whether or not you reach out to them or they reach out to you. I would say do what you want. I come from the frame of mind that like maybe it's just me, but I've had very few jobs that I've had to apply for. But the ones that I have applied for, like I'll apply for the job and then I'll go to the interview and give them my resume and talk to them. And then like, I'll call them up and be like, what's up? What's going on with the interview process? I have followed up with them. In this case, I don't really think that that's something that you're going to do. I think that it actually makes sense for you to wait for that kind of, that invitation. If you want to, you can, but I do think there's going to be some frustration and kind of like waiting, and it can mean that it can be like a 5-week process from start to finish. So from applying to the job or doing the interview to when you're actually getting the call back and you're talking to them. I wonder if the delay is going to be because they're considering giving somebody else the option, but they come back around and they're like, well, when can you start? So there may be some sense of like pressing and being like, hey, like, you know, when are you available, or when can you come back in? And if they want you to come back in for another interview, it's because they're working through that bottom of the list. And I would say go, you know, don't worry about other people being interviewed, go and do it. I remember looking at your astrology and I was like, yeah, you know, the eclipse is saying there's going to be a connection with somebody new. It's also talking about changes to your career. You're also seeing that, you know, Venus, which rules your career, is going into your 7th house, and it's going to be kind of a part of the eclipse stuff. And there could be some negotiations over money that's going to happen basically February into March. So to me, it still looks good. As long as you're getting the Ace of Cups and you're getting the Knight of Cups, it's saying that there's still going to be an offer. But I think feeling conflicted in the back and forth with why is it taking so long, or when did they call me? Don't worry about it. Just wait for the call. And if they want you to do another interview, definitely go. Hopefully that's helpful for you, Ellen. Good luck. We've got Brenna. Let's see what Brenna has to say. She says, hey Candace, I'm curious about this upcoming solar eclipse. I'm a Gemini rising and the eclipse will be in my whole sign 9th, Placidus 10th. What message does the tarot have for me in regard to the new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius? Well, one thing to remember is that the solar eclipse, it's going to take some time to unfold. It won't really make sense, you know, or start to make sense until the summer. When the North Node goes into Aquarius, then we're going to see more of the effects of it. And it can take 6 to like 24 months to fully kind of unfold. So with that being said, let's see what we can tell Brianna about this 9th whole sign eclipse / Placidus 10th house, although I would lean more in the direction of Placidus myself. And the card that I get for you is the Knight of Swords. So maybe listen to Taurus risings too, if the eclipse is in your 10th house, okay? Here's what I think. I think from the perspective of being a Gemini rising and knowing that Mercury is going to retrograde in your whole sign 10th, there's going to be some work stuff that's going to change. And then knowing that it's a Placidus eclipse and your Placidus 10th, it is saying there's going to be a job change. So you could look at it either way. You get the Knight of Swords. And so being a Gemini rising, you know, communication, intellect, information, traveling, some kind of news, contracts, big announcements, being put in a position where you're being asked to make a statement or kind of make a big announcement is very likely, right? Because the 10th house deals with your profession, your occupation, your reputation, and visibility. So you're dealing with an eclipse that's also squaring planets that's going to be in angular houses. So, I mean, it's squaring Uranus, which is obviously going to be in Taurus, in your whole sign, 12th house. So that tells me that there's about to be some shocking announcements or some shifts to your beliefs or a need for you to travel or a need for you to kind of step up and share something with other people. Pressing communication matters. Opportunities to travel and learn would be another way of looking at it through your whole sign 9th house. Pursuing your beliefs or pursuing your passions. It can also mean that you're planning trips or taking courses. So it makes sense that you have this Knight of Swords that's kind of coming up. Certainly other Geminis, I would say also Libras and Aquariuses can be in the mix. If you've been wanting to plan a trip, you know, maybe you'll start doing the research behind that before you make any moves. If you've been wanting to take a course or learn something new or develop a new skill, you start the beginning process of kind of doing your research and kind of looking into it. But generally when you see eclipses tied to your 9th house and then you pull a Knight, it's saying get ready because you're getting ready to go somewhere. And I think it doesn't have to be literally, although it can be travel, it can be more figuratively where you're about to have a shift in your frame of mind, and it can actually be indicating that there is a new mentor or a teacher or a guru, because that's the 9th house that's getting ready to come into your life. And it might be, you know, a book that you read, a podcast that you listen to, a show that you watch, a program that you're a part of that's really kind of helping develop your philosophy, and it's going to be about something that you're going to learn. Aquarius can also be about technology. It can be about science. It can be about astrology. So these can be like wonderful, you know, kind of topics and things that you can be kind of looking into. I wonder, is there going to be meditation classes, spiritual development classes? Are you going to go to retreats? Are there going to be things where you can go to collective meetups that are going to be on these topics that you're interested in? That's what I would be watching for, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Cool question. All right, we've got Muriel. And Muriel says, well, her first says, thank you for all that you do. And then she says, full payment for the previous transaction, Leo rising, and then you've got a Scorpio sun and a Cap moon, and your partner is an early Sag, my partner is an early Sag rising, late Sag sun, and Virgo moon. Aquarius Venus at 5. That suddenly ended things. Whoa, things ended suddenly and volatile, seeking closure and clarity. Love him and hoping for reconciliation. Okay, I got it. You're welcome. You know, I think about the fact that you're just a Leo rising and now you're seeing the eclipse that's coming through your 7th house. And so you have to look at the bigger picture. You've seen Venus, Mercury, the sun, all come through, you know, Aquarius in your 7th house in conjunct Pluto, right? Pressure cooker, drama, transformation. Mars is still going to come through there. And now all these planets are squaring the 10th house. So it represents them not knowing how to deal with emotions, relationships that are changing, and it's changing your status, or it's putting pressure on your career. Also knowing that, you know, he is an early degree Sag rising. Uranus is dancing in and out of his 7th house. So there could be snap changes that can happen in relationships. So both of you guys are having some pretty big energies going through your 7th house of relating. So let's take a look at this and let's see what the cards are saying. You know, things ended suddenly in a volatile way. Can we get closure or clarity? And is there room for reconciliation? One, two, three. 2 of Cups, 7 of Coins, Queen of Coins. Yes, he can come back, but it's got to be on your terms. And so that's just something you have to think about. Like, you know, I could see that as a Leo rising, you're going to have to acknowledge and you're going to have to accept that partners are going to freak out a little bit. They're going to be a little bit more Uranian as they're going through, you know, the eclipses in your 7th house. And also you're going to see some Pluto eclipses over the next couple of years. So it can be a bit of like a back and forth thing. I also think about how Uranus will go in and out of the 7th. So it's like there's no, and he is seeing it from the perspective of you. That's like, oh, I need a freedom from relationships, or communication is too difficult. You'd have to really look at the composite chart. But the cards are saying 2 of Cups is, okay, you've been in a relationship. It's also kind of hinting at the possibility of a reconnection or a reunion in the future. It can be saying there's still love there, that there still is a lot of feelings there, but it's in the past. So it's saying in the past, things were looking pretty good. Now this whole experience with the 7 of Pentacles is having you really reassess and reevaluate, you know, should I be investing any time into this? Should I be waiting, right? And also, how much time did we spend together? And like, realistically, is this good for me? And like, what can I be doing, you know, to better the situation? What's nice is the cards aren't really indicating that you're going out of your way to fix anything. Like if it ended in a very volatile way, it wasn't really peaceful, even though there's a lot of love there, the 7 of Coins is like you going like, how long do I want to wait? You know, and is this going to be a good investment for me? And it looks like you're putting the energy more into yourself rather than trying to fix whatever problems that are kind of going on in the relationship, because you're like looking at it going, all I can do is just be left here to pick up the pieces and like work on myself, better my health. You know, Pentacles could be what you're eating, your habits, your finances, and pouring that energy back into yourself, because he didn't give you the opportunity to kind of like get clarity as to what was wrong. I think that's smart. I also feel like you're kind of in a place where you're not necessarily waiting for him, but you're not moving forward yet and entertaining other people, because the 7 of Coins is like, no, I'm going to work on myself, or I'm going to use this as a time to be like kind of productive and kind of get some stuff done. And then the 7 of Coins transitioning to the Queen of Coins is, in the end, this is going to be really good for you because it's going to show you whether or not this is going to be a solid, reliable relationship and partnership if he can be like so flippant. It also means that, you know, your health can improve, your finances can improve, your self-worth can improve. There's a lot of maturity that's coming from these cards. That's like, okay, so we had an argument and things ended and I love him, but like, I'm not going to walk away. But at the same time, like, you know, if he's not bettering himself or seeing and valuing me and cherishing me, because the Queen of Coins knows her value, she's like, I'm going to be 100%. I'm going to be complete. And if he does end up coming back, he's dealing with a queen. So now it's going to be somebody who's going to go, you know, you didn't really give me the opportunity to work it out. You just kind of blew up the situation. And, you know, why should I be involved in this? What is it that you can do for me? And you're going to be very grounded about it. I don't see you like being dramatic or there being anything that it's kind of being thrown back and forth. But this is going to be a lesson for you in realizing your worth. And I think that I would really, really learn that lesson. Because if you do decide to go back, which is a possibility with the Two of Cups, or take him back, you may potentially see this kind of whipping around wildness whenever you're seeing, you know, eclipses that are going on. I mean, this solar eclipse that's coming, for example, because it sounds like it's like right along your descendant, you're going to find that in 6 months' time, when it becomes a full moon, you're going to see a full moon that's going to be in Aquarius conjunct Pluto this summer, and it's going to oppose the Sun and Jupiter in the first house. That means that either you guys will take that time apart, he's going to see how well you're doing, and he's going to come back. Or it means if you guys have gotten back together, then you're going to be like focusing on this glow up and how things are changing and evolving for you and like your joy and your happiness. And you're still going to see that divide where, you know, he's going through something that's going to be very overwhelming for him and like difficult for him to change. And it can kind of dim some of the light that's kind of coming from Sun and Jupiter moving through your sign. So you have to know that like the dynamic has to change. It's almost like you're treating it like it's a breakup because, you know, it either has to be done or it has to be you guys coming together in a different way. And I wouldn't be taking anything or tolerating anything, you know, like that in the future, because it does look like you're trying to at least be mature and more responsible and not trying to kind of like throw the baby out with the bathwater and be like, okay, this is just done the way that he did. And I think it'll also be like a real kind of reckoning with the Queen of Coins coming up, because it's like you being like, yeah, you know, I don't deserve to be treated that way. Like I did not blow up on you the way you blew up on me, or I realize how much I kind of like bring to the equation. And, you know, I think he's going to need to hear some of those things. And that's stuff you're going to be realizing, you know, throughout the next couple of weeks. Most likely because the Seven of Pentacles, you know, coming up, it can be saying it can take a couple months. So it can be a process of getting into the 7th month of the year or within 7 months after the breakup. That's kind of what you're looking at. And I would also be watching as you're getting closer to like the full moon. That's going to be obviously in Aquarius in about 6 months time, or when you're seeing the full moon that could be happening like in Sagittarius during Gemini season. That could be another turning point just based off some of the placements in this chart. Hopefully that's helpful for you. What's up, Rosie? I will add you to the queue. Shoot me your question and I'll get you in here in just a second. I'm going to take my super chat and then I'll take Rosie. I've got Brandon. I've got Matthew. Omar came back for seconds. Let's see. Who else do I have here? Let me double check my PayPal on my phone too, although it seems like everything is coming through. Jessica. Is there anybody else whose name I have not said? Looks like we're good. PayPal's doing good tonight, thankfully. All right, let's go and take my super chat. So let's see. Hi. What does that say? I'm trying to see your name. Helkany? Am I saying it right? She said, went PT at my job recently, but feeling so discouraged with many different factors at work. Tempted to just quit. I plan on launching my own business this summer. Do I hold out and stay part-time until then? Libra Sun, Cancer Moon, Virgo Rising. Here's the deal. Because Mercury is going to go retrograde in your natal 6th, Placidus, it's about a change with your schedule and kind of whether or not you're willing to cut your losses and let something go, which could have been the work that you've already kind of dealt with. and you're debating whether or not it makes sense for you to quit. Now, you could look for a job, you could change jobs during that time too if you wanted. The fact that Mercury is going to retrograde conjunct Venus can mean that you can smooth over some of the relational kind of dynamics at work if it comes up. It also will factor Mercury and Venus trine Jupiter in your 10th. So that's going to be about your career. So like, actually, like I've been looking for another job just astrologically. And eventually you will see Jupiter coming into conjunction with your moon. This summer is really good, especially right after like the Mercury retrograde in Cancer. I'm a 0 degree Libra rising, so I know those transits. I'm gonna run and quit my job, guys. You guys are gonna be on your own pretty soon. You've got High Priestess, the Death card, the Ace of Swords. Holy cow, that's the real Death card. You got a double dose. I mean, it sounds to me like whether this is you intuitively going, I have this plan, I am going to be, you know, building this business, it is going to be taking off, I know I'm eventually going to leave this job, I'm going to have to make the decision, it's just a matter of do I pull off the Band-Aid and do it now or do I do it later, right? And she says, yes, back in the gym, self-employed, working on my business, focusing on myself, seeing a financial advisor and a therapist. Thank you so much, that helped, it really resonates. Yes, but timing, baby, timing is everything, because the High Priestess is kind of saying like, you know that the end is near, but it's also saying that if there is too much change at one time, you may actually feel a little bit overwhelmed. Okay, so just to be fair, the true Death card for me is the Ace of Swords. So if you're gonna quit your job, you know, the Death card coming up is like, it could be difficult, but you know, we'll see. But then if it doubles down and you get the Ace of Swords, it's like you will quit your job. The problem is that I feel like if you're trying to do this in the next month, you know, it may not actually be beneficial for you. Okay, so let's just start with the fact that you already went to part-time. I would really recommend, especially because I think about the fact that planets aren't direct yet, we're in the middle of eclipses. You know, being a Virgo rising, you're going to have technically an eclipse in your whole sign 6. So I get why you want to quit your job, because you're feeling like you want to make time for, you know, career stuff, traveling or whatever, but it's actually squaring Uranus in your 8th. So financially, that's a little bit of a risk, right? Like I would be very careful against quitting your part-time position right now, because it may not play out the way that you think. And there could potentially be some challenges going on with the financial stuff. And I think it would be really smart for you to wait at least through May. For you to make some of these changes. However, you can do other things with the retrograde. You can go look for another job. You can look for another part-time job, right? You can be considering looking at working for something where a schedule is going to work better for you. Does it make sense to not completely commit to something right now because your top priority looks like your mental health with the High Priestess coming up? Yeah, don't go and take on a full-time position. You know, does it also make sense for you to start something full-time because you know you're going to launch your business? No. So you either need to decide that it's about really focusing on just strengthening your physical, financial, and your mental health, being a big girl, making your way through it. I know you don't want to, but I think it's smarter for you to do that through May. Then you're probably going to feel a little bit more comfortable. And I see that from an astrological perspective, but also that's when you're going to have the full moon in Taurus, babe. So when you have that full moon the new moon in Taurus, when you have that new moon, it's going to be representing like now having the more kind of physical financial strength that you need, setting you up. So if you did want to segue out of your job in June, July, when you have the retrograde and Jupiter that's hovering around your moon, it would be better. But the Death card is saying it's difficult because you realize you're reaching a point where you're like, I just cannot do this anymore. Like this is toxic. And probably you've seen this for some time. Eclipses, retrogrades, Saturn, Neptune, all going through your 6th house into your 7th house has just shown you where other people are draining. And you know, Pisces can represent people who are crazy. But I think that if you try to quit your job right now with the Death card and the Ace of Swords coming up, it's saying it's going to have some pretty dramatic impacts. And I feel like that would be throwing way too many variables up in the air. And you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be like, okay, I'm thankful to not have my job, but now I'm stressed out about money. And this can actually talk about that negatively offsetting some of the progress you're making with your physical health and your mental health. So I would wait a little bit. Timing is everything. Here's the thing. People are going to be very impulsive this year. People are just going to suddenly snap. They're going to walk out of jobs. They're going to leave marriages. You're going to see people who are just going to make snap financial decisions and all kinds of things. Nope. If we can really learn to be patient and persistent, and especially being a Virgo, you know, rising, the Saturn-Neptune transit now is heading into your whole sign 8th house. So it's going to be about finances and dealing with debt and financial management. And also, you know, it's on your descendant, so it's a lot about relating to other people. So I think that plan your strategy. I don't think I would execute until you're getting closer to at least about May. And I think you'll thank me for this, because you're going to see just how much more progress you're going to be able to make with your health and also your finances by having some kind of line of income that's coming in. Unless you want to use the Mercury retrograde and the eclipse to go and look for another part-time job. But it's full steam ahead with that business in July. You're going to have some really nice aspects for that. Hopefully that's helpful for you. As a Libra rising at 0 degrees, I feel that stuff. I got stuff that's cooking on the back burner too, so I know what that feels like. All right, we've got Mr. Brandon. Last call, guys. If you want to get in, last call. Brandon, you're on deck. Matthew, you're on deck. I'm going to take Rosie. What's up, Rosie? Let me add you up there. Okay, you're good. She says, take your time. Advice on dealing with an upcoming meeting between me and my boss and a known intense aggressive coworker. Boss believes we should talk it out, but I think our dynamic will get worse. Woo! Don't you love those Virgo eclipses at the South Node that are coming up where all of your coworkers are acting insane? I don't have coworkers, I have dogs, but they do that. Let's take a look. Let's see what we can see here. You're welcome. All right, Rosie, let's take a look. What's going to happen with this meeting between your boss and one of your coworkers? Can you guys talk it out, or is it going to get worse? Well, bless your boss's heart. I think they really mean well, but I don't think they really realize just like how bad of blood there really is. So you can kind of expand on that. But we've got the Page of Cups, the Ten of Swords, and the Hierophant. Quick question. Do you guys have an HR department? Like, do you have anybody who handles like kind of like professional relations or anything like that? Like somebody other than your boss? Is there somebody else? Boss is genuinely trying. I mean, they are, like, bless their heart. The Page of Cups is like, come on, guys, like, everybody get along, like, kumbaya, you know? Yes, I went to HR before her. Okay. So did HR recommend that you guys have this meeting, or is HR not doing their job, so they're in turn, now you're having to bring it to the boss? Like, what's the deal? Because, look, I don't think that the boss recognizes or realizes that, you know, not only could things get ugly, but also that, like, there is definitive, like, beef and bad blood here. Like, the situation I don't think is going to get better. You're not going to like each other. You're not going to work well together. I don't say that to be negative. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. We've got the Ten of Swords, which means it's done. So whether you feel that you got stabbed in the back, or you weren't supported, or you've got somebody who's trying to cause problems, like, a leopard's not going to change its spots. The only saving grace here is that the Hierophant coming up is saying that there should be like an authority figure in the room. That's why I said where's HR. So the boss is great, but like you need somebody else who's going to be able to kind of really reevaluate and kind of bring order to the situation, because I feel like your boss emotionally is not going to have the capability of being able to handle the situation if it gets out of hand, and it would be good to have somebody else there that can bear witness to the meeting. She says HR did make a difference, but bosses didn't know, so now boss wants to try. Okay, so you can try, but I think that there needs to be somebody in the room that's going to have like a pair of balls. Sorry to be so graphic, but you know, the Hierophant's somebody who creates the order. They're like, this is what's okay, this is not what's okay, these are the rules, this is how we follow it, this is what's going to be stipulated, this is what's going to be expected, and we need to have somebody there who's going to be able to do that. Right? And so they may go into it assuming that they can just talk everything out and everything will be fine between the two of you guys, but emotionally you guys aren't vibing. And I do think with the Hierophant coming up, it's saying that, you know, order is going to be brought forward, but it's not going to be about, well, what can we do to make sure that you guys get along? That ship sailed. It's more, what rules are going to be followed and what conduct needs to be followed, and, you know, what needs to be kind of going on at work, and like making sure that there's going to be potentially like repercussions, or there's going to be some kind of end game if there is a situation that kind of gets out of hand, or if a situation continues. Most likely this can also mean that now there's going to be some like actual written like documentation. So I would go into it being like, hey, like I want this meeting to be documented. If somebody's saying things or doing things that are out of line, I want somebody to bear witness to it. You know, if we're having this conversation and these things are supposed to be ending and it continues to happen, I want to know that there's going to be some kind of like reprimanding. From my standpoint, all I can do is listen, document, and stay in my corner. So that's fine. But I think that it may be a good idea in advance talking to your boss before you have this meeting and being like, I really want to make sure that I'm not going to be in here, you know, like getting railroaded, or, you know, I don't want it to be a situation that's going to kind of blow up. And like, I would like to know that there are going to be people who are going to be witnessing this, and that also that there's going to be like a follow-up, right? Because it's going to turn into a he said, she said situation. And it won't really matter who's to blame or who said or who did what, because neither party is going to see each other's perspectives. All you really can do is go into it and you can basically be like, what are you going to be doing to ensure that this is not continuing? And if either party is going to be out of line, that there's going to be, you know, some documentation, which could be technically like on your working file. Is it the end of the world? No. I mean, the Hierophant is saying at least you're going to come out of it with somebody at the top knowing, you know, the problem and what the issues are and potentially restoring order and basically being like, look, people are going to start getting checked if you guys aren't able to work together well. But I don't think they realize just like how much distrust or feeling that there's like emotional kind of like antagonizing things that are kind of going on between the two of you guys at work, right? And so, you know, there's nothing you can do to change the other person. Ten of Swords is saying it's a done deal. But making sure that you come in orderly, you know, you have a plan, you have some concerns, you discuss those concerns, you talk about also, you know, what you're going to be looking at in the future, and probably following back up with your boss. I mean, I think that your boss might actually toss the football to HR, because usually the Hierophant is kind of like somebody going, okay, I'm going to be the one who's going to be in charge of this. So if you're telling your boss, hey, HR, you know, did something, didn't really do anything, you know, they maybe go back to HR and being like, you need to be on top of this. And you might actually have some more support, somebody who's going to be watching the situation. I don't know if coworkers have dogs. Let's see. And then, no, not at the end of the world, just very uncomfortable. It's fine though. This kind of has to happen. It has to happen. It'll restore the order. That's really what the Hierophant is about. And it can be also saying timing-wise, like as you're getting into the spring, you're going to feel like because people realize that they have to be abiding by certain kind of rules or conduct at work, it can actually create a little bit more orderly, you know, kind of situation at work, and it can allow you guys to be able to work together in an environment that doesn't feel hostile. Like there is going to be some kind of boundaries and rules that are going to be in place, you know? Sorry to hear you having to go through that, but I do think that somebody's going to end up kind of managing the situation, and like you said, all you can do is just show up and document it, but it does look like there's going to be some kind of a documentation whether you document it or not, you know? Hopefully that's helpful for you. All right, readings are now closed, so if you got in, I got you. If not, I'll catch you next time. Looks like we got Janelle, Brianna, Jessica, Omar, Matthew, and Brandon. All right, so Brandon, Matthew, and Omar, you guys are all up next. What's up, Brandon? Hello. If I were to start my own business or social media, what should it be about, or what should it be centered around based on my talents or skills, if that makes sense? All right, let's take a look, Brandon. So Tarot, can you tell us, should he be starting social media or a business? If so, what should it be centered around? Are you an Aries rising? I feel like you are, and you have like some Taurus in your chart or something, or Gemini. So you've got Seven of Wands, right? So the Seven of Wands is like motivational things. The Seven of Wands is connected to fitness. It's connected to travel. It's connected to actions and kind of, you know, being seen as somebody who's like standing up for yourself, or who's like an individual in the crowd, you know, somebody who's kind of going against the grain or like doing things different. He says, yeah, Aries rising, Gemini, Sun, Taurus, Moon. I have a good memory. So, you know, I mean, I was laughing because I was like, if he's an Aries rising, you know, part of like the Saturn-Neptune transit is like, how do I want to reemerge out in the world? How do I want to be seen? And taking business into your own hands. The sextiles that you're seeing to, obviously, Pluto and Aquarius is about having a community. And so like the North Node's going there. So it's about having an audience and like having an audience online. And then you're also having the sextile to Gemini, which is great for social media and like local meetup groups and things like that, and like teaching people things. But a lot of Aries risings are going to suddenly want to be motivational speakers. They're going to want to be trainers. They're going to talk about fitness. They're going to talk about, you know, dietary things. They're going to talk about being entrepreneurs, being a self-starter. They're going to give advice. And so with the Seven of Wands coming up, it's about being like, okay, stand your ground, or this is what I do every day, or these are the productivity hacks, or this is what I do when I'm on the road or I'm traveling. Like, it's very like being a content creator, but showing people ways to be more independent, or showing people ways to be more physically active, or showing people ways to be self-starters. It might be that you get into vlogging. Fun fact, I have a theory that vlogging is going to become a very big thing. And I don't think it's going to be what it has been in recent years. I don't think you're going to see a bunch of like these shorts that are all publicly edited, you know, perfectly, and everything's polished. I think people are going to go back to like live streaming, raw, no filters, no makeup, just in the moment. And it's going to be a lot of people who are like, hey, quick thought. Hey, this is what I'm doing right now. Like, Hank, let's hang out. Like, let me give you advice, or like, let's talk about what I'm doing today. And things that are going to be fast, right? Aries. So when I see the Seven of Wands, I feel like whether you're going for a walk or a run, or you're running errands, or if you're doing something that's connected to your travels or to your fitness, it's like you showing people what you're doing in ways that you're like learning how to be self-sufficient or do things on your own. Also, you have to go and look at, you know, like where your natal Saturn is, how it's aspected, all of that stuff. But I think Aries risings have an amazing opportunity to go and build new platforms and like kind of connect with new kind of communities and audiences if they're really diversifying their media. And that's going to be Uranus going into the third. So knowing that your sun is there, you're a yapper, right? You like to communicate and share and learn. It could also be talking about going places and exploring. So you could be exploring new parts of your city, you know, talking about reviews of local businesses, or like meetups, or like certain restaurants or things like that. And you could create media around that and be bringing attention to either the places that you're traveling to or the places that you're actually kind of exploring. And that would also be like a really great energy. And obviously Seven of Wands talks about kind of exploring and going and like seeing places and doing things that are kind of like off the beaten path. So hopefully that's helpful in giving you some insight. I've definitely seen a lot of people who have like the Aries and the Gemini in their chart that are asking that question. They're like, I got to do something. What do I have to do? And I would say it's focusing on your vision and where you're traveling to. All right, we got Matthew V, Omar, and then Jessica. What's up, Matt? How's it going? Matt says, hey Candace, going to the city this weekend to meet my friends who I've only been, who've only been once or twice. Looking forward to showing them around. Anything to look out for or forward to? Let's take a look. Well, what city are you going to? Oh, New York again. All right, let's take a look. So anything that Matt needs to be aware of or looking out for going to the city? No, it's okay. All right, so in this order, I got the Emperor, the Ten of Cups, and the Three of Pentacles. I like that combo. I feel like at this point, you're like the man to take people, right? The Emperor. You're like, and this is what we're going to do, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that. Like there could be like a whole agenda that can be kind of like set up for you when it comes to, you know, kind of showing people around. So you're definitely going to be the leader. This is also about kind of being bold, right? And taking a sense of like leadership and direction and feeling a little bit more enthusiastic and feeling like a little bit more in control. So you can handle it. Everything's going to be cool in that regard. Ten of Cups talks about just having a lot of fun, right? Emotional fulfillment, feeling at home, enjoying yourself, having a good sense of community, mixing and mingling with people who you may already know there, who you're going to be introducing them to. It's also like having a lot of laughs, having good food, good drinks, and really enjoying yourself. And it might also talk about having like a really comfortable space or accommodation that you guys are staying in. So whether you're staying at a hotel, a friend's house, you're renting an Airbnb, whatever, it almost looks like everybody's like staying together. So it's like a big slumber party. And obviously you can see that because you see all the family that are together. There's the blanket there. So it talks about kind of like security and really feeling like you guys are having a good time. Generally that depicts good weather too, by the way. So when you have all the clear skies that are kind of coming up, I don't really see any weather related issues, although I'm sure it's still very cold in New York City. You'll have to tell me. This weekend, We are starting to see, that planets are coming into a square with Uranus. So you're going to see Venus squaring Uranus. You're going to see the sun's coming into a square with Uranus. You're also going to be seeing that this is like the preparatory phase this next coming weekend for the last quarter square. So there's a lot more drama that's going to be happening next weekend. Things start to kind of break apart a little bit. I don't see that impacting you or affecting your cards. I think the Three of Pentacles talks about sometimes like the three amigos. It can also be talking about working together, ensuring that everybody's needs or interests are getting met, right? So if it's like somebody wants to see a museum, somebody wants to see live music, somebody wants to go to a specific restaurant, you're able to go boom, boom, boom. We can do all of those things. Divide and conquer is very much the Three of Pentacles. So you might also feel like it's a lot of getting up early, getting out there, doing all the things that you want to do, and then coming back in. So that way you're able to kind of fit a lot into like your weekend. It can also mean that there's some good opportunities to like connect with people and be like some business opportunities from people while they're there, or that there's going to be some networking events or some kind of connections. It can also mean that, the fact that you guys are traveling together. So whether you guys are like doing rideshare, or if you guys are, renting a place together, or if you guys are going to be splitting, the bills if you're going out to dinner or things like that, it looks very cost efficient. Like the way that you're doing it is like, okay, everybody's going to be pitching on this, and it's going to make it more enjoyable and easier for all of us to be able to do the things that we want to do, which I think is also kind of cool. He says, I'm excited. I'm going to introduce them to my friends who live there. My friends who live there are going to introduce me to people that they know down there. So there you go. So yeah, I mean, the community aspect of the Ten of Cups is really fun, because you're feeling like, oh, the whole fam's here, and even though it's your friends, you're really feeling like you're connecting with people. There's like a lot of like good emotional connections, and everybody loves the Emperor because he's kind of like the ringleader. So he's the person that everybody's kind of looking up to. So there can be a sense of them being really kind of feeling like fulfilled and feeling proud that you're able to take them around, show them places, introduce them to things, and show them the lay of the land. So that way they're not feeling like they're just kind of wandering, and they can get a lot more in the weekend that they're there. But yeah, I think that the Three of Coins at the end of this is kind of saying everybody's going to feel fulfilled with the experience and what they got an opportunity to kind of see and do. And also that you guys really work well together. I don't see like any, kind of personalities that are rubbing each other the wrong way or anything like that. I think it's going to be very smooth. So hopefully you have fun on your trip. That looks like such a blast. I haven't been to New York in a couple of years, but the last couple of times that I went there, it was a great deal of fun. I love going there in the fall. That's when I really like to go there. All right, we've got Omar and Jessica. You're welcome. And then Brianna. What's up, Omar? He's back. He says, one more question. I'm having trouble finding the right magical path for me, or whether it's even worthwhile pursuit. Just wanted to get advice from my guides on what direction I should take, whether or not it's worthwhile spiritual investment. All right, let's take a look. So can we give Omar any insight on whether or not there's a specific magical path he should be kind of taking up, and what direction he should go in, if it's a good investment? It's a good question. Interesting that you get the Lovers, the Sun, and the Nine of Swords. So I'm just going to kind of spitball on this a little bit. Sometimes when the Lovers card comes up, there's like something that we want to do, and there's this feeling of like temptation, but we're like, ooh, do I want to go there? Do I want to do that? It can also be talking about kind of, okay, do I want this path or that path, right? So it can be the right-hand path, the left-hand path, if you know what I'm talking about in that regards, magically speaking. I also think that this can be saying there are some things that are like tempting, but you're also realizing and recognizing, even though it can be tempting and it's got like its positives, and there can be some alluring qualities and some things that can be like really good, and it can also be really helping you energetically, and it can be boosting your confidence, it can be boosting your visibility, it can bring you a lot of happiness and creativity. There's some trade-offs here. And so I'm wondering what that is. Like these are some cards that talked about feeling conflicted, and I don't even think it's about getting involved in a spiritual practice or a certain path. I think it's about you going, I like some aspects of it, but there are some things that make me question just exactly how much do I have to give, right? Exactly how much do I have to pledge? How much money am I having to pay to work with certain practitioners or work with certain kind of mentors or gurus? How much of this is potentially kind of messing with or playing with free will if you were to be doing something that's going to be, you know, like a spiritual, like religion, and you may have some mixed feelings about it. I think with the Sun card coming up, it's basically saying that you're probably going to realize it's not a matter of feeling like you have to choose a particular path or you have to choose a particular practice. What you're choosing is what works for you. So this is more reading to me like the soul practitioner of somebody who wants to, you know, study some things, see what works for them, try it out, sample it. If they don't like it, at least you know that you can go, okay, I tried it, it's not for me. Because the concern that I have with this card coming up, with the Lovers card, is that, I mean, it's literally, you see the Garden of Eden, you see Adam and Eve, the angel comes through and it's like, hey, salvation. But then you see the snake wrapped around the tree. So it talks about once you start getting involved in something, even though it's going to have some kind of appeal and some kind of allure, and you think it's going to bring you good things, the more that you get involved in it and you realize it may not be for you. And that Nine of Swords is saying, you know, you could have feeling like you're having some stress or some anxiety or some worry or some fear because you've gotten involved in it, or because you've seen some things that, even though it's supposed to bring you some positive stuff, you realize that it's requiring like some kind of sacrifice on your part, or you're going against your morals, you're going against something that feels that that's right for you. So I think that right now it looks to me more like the path of being a soul practitioner rather than completely, you know, joining a coven or joining an association or joining a particular religion. And that's okay. You don't have to do that, because if you're not ready to be all in, then it's better to be all out until you can really give yourself a little bit of time to maybe see what else is out there. And also I think the Nine of Swords can talk a lot about like the stress and the anxiety, you know, that can come from kind of questioning exactly whether or not what you're involved with or who you're working with or other things are ethical. It can also mean that there can be some spiritual influences that can be kind of a part of what it is that you're doing, like offerings and other things, which can really open you up. But if you don't have the skills, or if you don't have the experience, or you don't have the support to learn how to ground that energy, there can start being some stickies around you, right? So like the Nine of Swords is like, ooh, I feel like there's some stuff going on in my house, or there's some things that are kind of vibing out around me, or some things that kind of feel off. So do your research, be okay being a soul practitioner for right now if that's something that interests you. Try a little bit of everything and don't feel like you have to jump in unless you really know that that's something in your heart of hearts that you want to do. It looks like you're going to have more clarity about some of this stuff come the summertime. Hopefully that's helpful. Very curious what it is that you're looking at. Having been around it all and seen it all, I'm questioning and kind of wondering what it is that you're interested in kind of practicing, but you don't have to share that. All right, we've got Jessica, Brianna, and Janelle. And then I think that's everybody. I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Yep. Jessica says, for a tarot reading, have a huge amount of responsibility in the last 8 years. My mom has dementia. I have Cap, Saturn, and Neptune in the 4th house, and also a Cap moon, a Virgo rising. Anything you may see regarding my mom's health and my finances, thanks. Well, that's a difficult placement. I have Saturn, Neptune in my 4th house conjunct too. So I know what that's like. Different, but definitely also like you, dealt with a lot of family members that have had some health issues, some dementia issues for sure. Watching my grandma go through that right now. So let's take a look and let's see. You know, I'll just say this. If you know your mom's chart, look at your mom's chart. If you don't, that's okay. But the health of your mother is actually going to be your 9th house, okay? Because that's going to be 6 houses away from your 4th house. So you want to look at when planets are transiting into your 9th house. So like Uranus going into Gemini, you want to watch your health there, health, lungs, mobility things, communication stuff. And then you also want to be watching when there are transits to, you know, obviously your 9th house Lord. So it sounds like, oh, wait a second, hold on. So you're a Virgo rising. So I take that back. That would be Venus. Okay. So Venus is your 9th house Lord. So like, you know, Venus going retrograde later in the fall this year, you're going to want to watch your health. That's going to be in October, November. When you see, you know, transits, outer planets that are aspecting your Venus, you want to watch that stuff. So let's see if the cards can give us some insight for you. And let's see what we can kind of tell Jessica about anything in regards to her mom's health or your finances. 1, 2, 3. Temperance, Three of Cups, Knight of Coins. Interesting. Who's this third person? Is this like a sibling? Is this like like, do you guys have hired help that's helping with her healthcare? Do you have a physical therapist? Like, are you in a relationship? Because it does talk about like another person like coming in to be a part of the picture to kind of help. So I'm wondering who that is. Pretty decent cards, to be honest with you. There's nothing coming up that's saying that there's going to be any kind of crisis health-wise from what I can see. The card that comes up is the Temperance card. So it's talking about taking it one day at a time, you know, focusing on healing and also focusing on balancing and timing. Pretty common theme when you see Saturn and Neptune in the 4th house. That's like you have a sick or aging parent. It could be dementia. It could be that they have mental health issues, addiction issues. It's hard to say. You have to look at the whole chart. But now you're coming into this period of time, the next couple of years, where now Saturn and Neptune are going to start squaring that. So it's going to represent you going like, okay, I've always had this responsibility of living this way, taking care of my mom, you know, being in this dynamic, being home all the time. And now the planets are shifting into like your 8th and your 9th house, which is more, am I getting emotional support? Am I talking to a therapist? You know, do I need more support from a partner? Am I focusing more on having a relationship? Are we bringing in some kind of home help care? You know, and that's going to be some of the things that are going to happen. So you're going to see with the Temperance card, there's this sense of you going like, okay, I've always done this. I recognize this is my karmic kind of responsibility, but also by the same token, how long am I going to be in this dynamic? And also, do I need to be bringing in help so I can feel like I can have some balance myself, so I can also feel like I have companionship? And I think that's just part of the transits. The 3 of Cups coming up is talking about joy, celebrations, you know, being together, you know, having a lot of love, having a lot of support and happy times. So I don't see anything that's getting disrupted there, although it is highlighting that support. She says, yes, we hired help. I'm married. I also have a bunch of siblings. I'm also seeing a therapist who has been really helpful. So you're doing it. Right? You're doing all those things. Probably what you'll find, just being a Virgo rising, is like a lot of like the retrogrades and the things that are going to be happening, the eclipses, is about really working with a therapist and probably being able to be a little bit more open with your partner, just about how hard it is for you. And like Capricorn, unfortunately, deals with guilt. Like there can be a lot of guilt with Capricorn of being like, well, I feel bad that this is my job or this is my responsibility. And I'm just going to be honest with you from an astrological perspective and somebody who has the same placements. Aries doesn't give a shit about anybody else. It does not. And so you'll find that you'll have conversations with your therapist, you'll have conversations with your husband that will be like, what are you doing for you? And they'll kind of get in your face about it. Like they'll be like, you need to create the boundary. That day is your day, or that time is your time, or you need to be feeling okay and not feeling bad or making yourself feel bad because you create a boundary. The fact that you have support, therapist, husband, you know, support system, siblings, is saying like, look, now people can band together as a team. And so it's okay to pass the baton a little bit. And if you need to lean on your husband and you're like, I'm tired, I need you to be there for me. If you need to call your siblings and be like, hey guys, like, you know, tag team, you know, I need a couple days, or I need somebody to come and relieve me. That's your job. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Things can be a lot easier when you release the need to feel like you have to be the person who's running everything. And so now there can be a lot of emotional healing. There can also be a lot of less financial stress and other things now that you're seeing Saturn and Neptune going into Aries. Dealing with insurance, of course, right? Dealing with other people's money, you know, management of mom's funds, dealing with mom's bills, that stuff kind of comes up too. But it looks like you have a bit of a team here. And I think with like the Knight of Pentacles coming up, is it saying that she may be going through some testing. Like there may be some stuff where she's getting a physical, or checking her blood work, or they're checking her diet, or, you know, anything that's going on with her. But it looks like she's steady and she's stable. I don't see her getting better, but I don't necessarily see her declining either. So it's saying that the health is consistent. It also can mean there's going to be a lot more conversations in the coming months just about her care, the cost of care, the expenses, you know, how you're dealing with her resources, how you're dealing with stuff that's connected to changes with her diet and with her financial management. I think those are some things that definitely come up, but it does look like that she's still there to some extent with you guys. And like a lot of the 3 of Cups is about celebrating and coming together and kind of integrating, working, you know, with some of your family to make sure that you're enjoying the time that you're having while you're with her. She says, yes, her cancer is back, but she's good so far. Well, I mean, I'm sorry to hear that. But the cards seem to be pretty positive because it's saying that just the support of people being around her, and also, you know, the Temperance card is about the timing of when you caught it, or that you guys are able to kind of get ahead of it and possibly some kind of like medication or food intervention and changes to her actual diet and her lifestyle might actually make a difference. So, you know, obviously I'm not a doctor, but when I see temperance coming up with the, you know, Knight of Pentacles, I'm always quick to be like, time to talk to a dietitian, time to look at what they're eating, you know, time to talk to an herbalist. And there may be some things that you can be doing that can kind of offset some of the stuff that she's going through if she is dealing with a diagnosis like that. But, you know, obviously dealing with cancer and also dealing with what's going on with dementia is like two very, very big things at the same time. So ask for, you know, your family to kind of support you through this and try to work on not feeling so guilty about it and enjoy being there and also feeling okay releasing some of the responsibility, because people are meant to be here to kind of help you right now. Sending your mom lots of good vibes and you as well. That sounds like that's a lot. All right, we've got Brianna, and Brianna says, hi, I'm looking to get some guidance and clarity on two big things in my life, work and the custody case. I have court late March and went on a job interview this week, but the salary offer was insulting to say the least. What do I need to know for the best possible outcome? All right, well, let's take a look. What can we tell you about these two things with the custody and also with work? So we'll do work first, then custody, and then we'll do an outcome. Thanks, Jen. Come see me. I'm always happy to work with you. You can check the links below. You can head over to beyondtheveiltarot.com. All right, so we've got work first, we've got custody case, and we've got general outcome. Well, keep it moving, girl. Keep it moving. The Knight of Wands is saying, okay, you got that insulting kind of order, but you're like, next, you're on to the next thing. I do think that, and aren't you a Libra? Are you a Libra or Libra rising? I feel like you are. You are going to see that with the Knight of Wands coming up, it's just like you're not slowing down or feeling like you're stalling just because you didn't take the offer that was given to you. The Knight of Wands is like, okay, I'm getting in the car, you know, I'm going on other interviews, I'm searching for something else. You may find a job that's going to be like quite flexible too, because the Knight of Wands is you could work shifts that work for you, or it works with your schedule, or it's going to be something that's going to give you a little bit more independence. It could also mean that these are things that are requiring you to travel or to move around or to run errands, or things that are going to be connected to movement or things that are connected to fitness. Yeah, Libra rising. So Libra risings are going to see just with the retrograde that's coming in and the eclipse that there is a rearrangement of their work and their schedule. All of that stuff is going to happen over the next month. I think for you, I would be super focused on, you know, looking at things where you can provide services. I don't know what kind of a job you're looking for. Third house can be anything from the service industry to working in the medical field to doing some assistant type work to working with animals. But I do think that, oh, okay, cool. Aries Sun, wow. Aries Sun and Cancer Moon. So you have got changes going on in relationships and also changes that are going on in your 11th house. Media and administrative stuff would be good with Jupiter in your 10th house. But I also feel like you could do something that's like personal assistant type of work or like gig type of work with this card coming up. Keep looking. Be on the lookout. You'll see sometime around the early to like mid-March period when Mercury's retrograding back, it's going to meet with Venus. So it can mean that you have the opportunity to go back into an old line of work you used to do. You suddenly have a breakthrough at work and you realize what you do want, or you have like a hunch about something you want to do. Okay, cool. So cannabis career, that's perfect with the literally Knight of Wands and you deliver cannabis. That's so perfect. But I also feel like it might be about like expanding the types of companies that you're working with or the types of products that you're willing to deliver. You know, private spaces is Mercury in the retrograde in the 6th, and so you're bringing it to the public. So maybe you end up working with a different company that delivers to retirement centers, that delivers to hospitals, it's delivering to, I mean, anything that can be a little bit more like private. Maybe it means that you're also going to be somebody who's like on call to be, you know, delivering to hotels or places where people are going to be kind of like staying, you know, for extended periods of time. She says, I typically do long drives from Los Angeles to NorCal. You're going to see that there's going to be a lot of travel coming in with this. So especially if you have Pisces in the 6th, I think that's a good job for you now. But you're going to see that work is also going to be a little bit more flexible, and then things are going to stabilize a little bit more over the summer. You'll see some breakthroughs for that. And traveling is very much Jupiter. I think that with the case that's going on, and I could be wrong, but I feel like we pulled this for you one of the last times. You got the Queen of Cups. So that's great because it's like channeling, you know, that Cancer moon energy that you've got going on. And obviously so much of like the court case stuff is going to be tied to Saturn going into your 7th. It's also tied to Jupiter coming in conjunction with your moon. It's really about just emotionally being in a place of being like, I know that this is the time, and feeling emotionally cool, calm, collected, not feeling like you're crawling out of your skin, not feeling overly emotional, not being like hysterical when you're dealing with like the legal people. I'm feeling very much in alignment, and this knowing, because the Queen of Cups is very intuitive and very psychic, that there is this reunion that's coming with your kids and that you're going to have the opportunity to nurture them, be with them, and take care of them. And so I think that you're coming at it from a place of just feeling like it's just a matter of time, and focus on the emotions of how it feels for things to kind of go in the direction that you want it to go in. And I say that because you get the moon card. So as I've said earlier, I think the moon card came up earlier, I was saying like it's positive because it allows you to be more in control of the future, because when your emotions are tapped into where you see things going, you're not allowing yourself to kind of spin out and freak out. But the moon card can also be a little tricky because it's a sense of people going, I'm blind, I don't see what the future holds. Like, I don't, you know, usually you're tapped in, but you're like, I don't know, I can't read the situation, or I'm not getting clarity on this, or my mind's going to like worst case scenario. And I would say like, you can't do that with either one of these situations. The work stuff is going to be rapid. Like work changes are going to happen very quickly. And if anything, I feel like there might be too much travel or too much back and forth. The thing that you want to focus on is realizing that you're coming to a period where now there's about to be a bunch of grand reveals. How work is going to go, how the thing with the kids and the legal matter is going to go. Also, you're not asking, but a lot of it's going to be about like relational dynamics and relationship themes as well, as you start to see Saturn go into the 7th. So even though you don't really know how it's going to manifest, I can tell you it's going to be really loud, knowing that Saturn's going into your 7th house, opposing your first and squaring your moon, right? And you've also got, I think you said some Aries in there too. So life for the next 2 years, relationships, job, and also home life are all going to change. Have faith with that moon card that whatever is meant to be revealed is going to be revealed to you, especially in regards to the custody stuff. And also maybe that's something that you work into your meditation. It's like, okay, universe, you know, give me a freaking sign. Like, where am I supposed to be going? Like, tell me exactly what I'm supposed to be looking for. If I'm supposed to be doing the job, send me the sign, send me the opening, connect me to that. Also, what am I supposed to be watching for when it comes to the custody case? What do I need to be thinking about or feeling? You know, send me something. The universe will support you, because it does look like you're still kind of going in the back and forth when it comes to the fear department with these things. Don't let worst case scenario kind of creep into your mind. Really focus on the emotional security of having you and your kids and your family together, and then also be excited and be willing to take risks and travel places that you haven't been for work. Take chances at work. Do things you wouldn't typically do. There could be other types of transportation or delivery things that could be coming in for you as well. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Sending you lots of good luck. Hope you got a brown candle or something for that court case. We've got, finally, Janelle says, Vice President visit coming. How do I shine but not blind? Okay. Like Vice President in your company? Gemini rising, Leo sun, and then your Aries moon. So all your stuff's kind of getting lit up. Okay. I was like, the Vice President's coming to your house? All right, let's take a look. So what advice can we give Janelle for this connection with the Vice President of her company? How does she stand out? How do I shine but not blind? Well, you've got the Page of Wands. So how do you shine? I would say, well, with the Page of Wands, wear warm colors. I know that sounds silly, right? You can wear a red necklace. You can wear orange or red or bronze or rust or anything that's going to be yellow or mustard. Wear something red so it's going to kind of pop, because you're going to be more likely to be seen. And the pages deal with the element of fire. But I also feel like this is just about you being front and center. Like there's a way for you to be observed without feeling like you have to be talking or being loud, by being in direct kind of like, sight of somebody. So if they're coming, they're talking, they're giving a presentation, you sit in the front, right? And you're engaging, eye contact, you're watching, you're not paying attention or looking down. There is engagement the whole time. There's a lot you can say just by being present without having to say anything at all. If you were pulling swords, or something like that, I'd be like, yeah, go up, introduce yourself, talk to them. Nope, sit there, smile, right? Be engaging, pay attention, follow the cues, and that's all you really need to do. Because it seems to me like if you're bringing that element of fire in and you're making your presence known, they're going to recognize you, they're going to remember you, and they're also more likely to come up and kind of talk to you and be like, who are you? What are you doing? What do you got going on? And observe as you interact with other people. This is also about being outgoing around other people, but I don't think it's with the vice president. I think it's going to be more if they're watching you, working and socializing with other people. Go about your daily routine, but make sure that, as you're going through your office or you're doing whatever you got to do, hey, how's it going? How are you doing? How's your project going? You need any help with that? Like, be engaging with other people who are around you so they can see you perform in that way. Because that's how you are, apparently, if you're coming up as the page. But what you're really working on is like learning to kind of switch your switch on, right? So I think about, being a Gemini rising, you're going to be super social for sure. But also you're now tapping into that Leo sun. So that means that, over the better part of like the next year, Jupiter is really helping you communicate, connect, share, learn, and travel. Aries, right, is your moon. So Saturn's going into your moon sign. So that means that you have to be a little bit more independent and kind of direct and a little bit more assertive, which you have. You have that. And I think you are if you're a Leo sun. But you're really going to tap into that whole, like, I'm not waiting for people to approach me. I'm going to approach other people type of thing, right? Aries moon, me the first. Start doing that. Hey, how's it going? How's your day? And I think that you're going to find that it's just bringing you more confidence, and you're going to feel more confident in communicating with other people and like meeting other people, even outside of your work zone. So wear warm, be engaging, be somewhere that you're going to be seen. You don't even have to really communicate with them. Let them watch you in your own environment so you can kind of float around and be like a social butterfly. And I think that's how you're really going to catch their eye. I hope that's helpful for you. Good luck with the vice president coming to visit you. Always get interesting questions. All right, let me make sure I got everybody. I believe that I did. If you guys have not already, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you can see more of my videos. You definitely want to check out my Sunday video that's coming out. We're talking all about Saturn going back into Aries. The next 2 weeks are some of the biggest weeks all year long for the astrology in 2026. So it's going to get real. Make sure you're subscribed so you can see more of those videos. If you guys want to learn how to read tarot, or if you want to learn astrology, if you want to get a reading with me, you want to pick up a transit calendar, I also have some really cute tarot tote bags. Click the links below and you can head over to beyondtheveiltarot.com. You guys can check out my classes as well as some of my offerings. And if you want to book a reading with me, I'm happy to talk to you as a client. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Friday. I'll catch you guys back here next Friday for solar eclipse readings. Check the community tab if you guys want to get in there early next week. Big thank you to all of the members and those of you guys who hang out with me on Friday. I hope you guys have a good weekend, and I'll see you here very soon. Take care.